If I ask an audience, how many of you would like to run a billion-dollar company? Every single hand goes up. It is not true. What you're really seeking is pure, unalloyed happiness, which is with you all the time.
When did you realize that there is life beyond accomplishments? There is life beyond chasing that mirage.
Frustration.
Dr. Srikumar Rao is a professor of business and author of a new book, Happiness at Work.
How can one be happy? Not occasionally, but most of the time.
I thought that chasing was what life was all about. And I was chasing and not getting what I wanted. So I was intensely first frustrated and then not exactly depressed, but down. I do not desire suffering, but fool that I am, I desire the causes of suffering.
What are those causes of suffering that we get stuck?
Some people will leave your life, others will come in, the relationship will be deeper. Observe all of that happening. This is just Maya playing out anyway. He who thinks he is free is free. The only thing that is keeping you bound is the notion that you think that you are bound.
Srikumar sir, such a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, The xMonks Drive.
Okay. Thank you, Gaurav.
Because this is one conversation I've been longing for a long time. And interestingly, every time when we get onto a call, we talk of everything but the podcast. So this time I was very clear that I have to record this conversation with you.
You know,
Pleasure
I really
is all
enjoy
mine.
chatting with you. And I think that rather than prescribed questions and answers, the way it goes with a free-flowing conversation is so much better.
That's what I'm looking forward to. You know, as I was just trying to understand that, how should I be introducing you?
Okay, so just say Dr. Rao is a TED speaker, an executive coach, and a former business school professor who's I've got a particular coaching niche. My coaching niche is persons who are successful, generally entrepreneurs and senior executives, who also have a spiritual drive and they wish to bring that into every aspect of their life.
Yeah. You said that I work with successful people, successful entrepreneurs who have a spiritual drive as well. Just wondering, how would you keep these two words together on a common platform, successful and people who have spiritual drive? There are a lot of people, when I talk to them, they said, hey, Gaurav, we don't want to get into this spiritual space because the moment we get into the spiritual space, I might get slow in my life. And I don't want to get slow in my life.
Oh, this opens up a whole Pandora's box of questions. First of all, is it true that if you go into the spiritual life, you get slower? I strongly contest that. And second, they're saying, I don't want to get into that. If they say, I don't want to get into that, then there is a corollary question which rises immediately. What do you want out of life? And I'm suggesting that what most people think they want out of life is profoundly a misconception. Let me explain. I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. If I ask an audience, how many of you would like to run a billion-dollar company? Every single hand goes up.
Absolutely.
So everybody wants to run a billion-dollar company. But that is totally incorrect, Gaurav. What they want is the feeling that they will have when they're running a billion-dollar company. Even that is not true. What they want is the feeling they think they will have when they're running a billion-dollar company. And the only way they can think of to get that feeling is to actually run a billion-dollar company. So they go out and strive and with might and main and try and make that happen. And then you have the vicissitudes of it's working, it's not working, I made this mistake, oh, this thing turned out wrong, fate is against me, etc. All of the miseries that the human race is succumbing to. It is not true. What you're really seeking is pure, unalloyed happiness, which is with you all the time. That is what you're seeking. And you think that the way to do that is to run a billion-dollar company, is to get a bigger mansion, to get your private plane, to have a yacht or whatever. And we think that is what is going to give us what we're seeking, pure, unalloyed happiness. And that is behind our frenetic urge to go out, get, do.
And so would it be fair assumption to make that we continue to live our life in Maya, we continue to live our life in an illusion, and later on we realize, shucks, man, what the F have I done to my life? Where am I right now?
Absolutely. We spend our lifetime climbing the ladder of success, and late in the day, we realize that it's leaning against the wrong wall.
Today only I was having this conversation with this gentleman who's at a very senior position with one of the banks in the country. And this gentleman said, Gaurav, when I was younger, I could not get through an Ivy League college. I could not get through an IIM. And I realized that the only way to get recognition is to work hard. I started working really hard. I climbed the ladder of success faster than most of the colleagues could possibly do. And when I reached here, I said the only way to get more recognition is to work hard. So I worked harder and harder and harder. And now I've started to realize that I was actually chasing an illusion. I was actually chasing a mirage.
Yeah, we all do. Look at the world around. I think it was Thoreau who said the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Look at our lives, the undercurrent of anxiety that's always there. There's always something that's off, something that's causing problem. You're never able to sit down and enjoy a meal or a vacation because you're always thinking of what's happening there. What should I be doing? How can I be more productive? We have lost the capacity to enjoy life. Let me read something to you, Gaurav. Now, I want you to listen carefully.
Yeah.
I want your readers of your podcast to listen carefully to what I am reading. The prayer of the heart delighted me so much that I thought there could be no one happier than I in the whole world, and could not imagine how there could be any greater or deeper contentment in the kingdom of heaven. Not only did I experience all this within my soul, but everything around me appeared to be enchanting and inspired me with love for and gratitude to God. People, trees, plants, animals, I felt kinship with them all and discovered how each bore the seal of the name of Jesus Christ. At times I felt so lightweight as if I had no body and were not walking, but rather joyously floating through the air. At other times, I entered so fully into myself that I saw clearly all my inner organs, and this caused me to marvel at the wisdom that went into creating the human body. Sometimes I knew such joy that I felt as if I had been crowned a king. It was at such moments of consolation that I wished that God would grant me to die as soon as possible, so that I could pour myself out in gratitude at his feet in the spiritual world. Just listening to that gives you an idea of the kind of spiritual exaltation this person was in, right? This comes from the Eastern Orthodox tradition, but there are parallel accounts in every wisdom tradition in the world. This is what is meant by Ananda. Ananda is a Sanskrit term, and it's very loosely mistranslated as joy, happiness, serene. And we think, I had a good dinner, so this is Ananda. No, that's a pale reflection of what Ananda is. What I described to you, that is Ananda. And that is your true nature, because your true nature is Satchidananda.
What a profound way to express, what a profound way to define Satchidananda. Sri Rao, sir, you are a graduate from St. Stephen. Correct. You did your master's from IIM Ahmedabad. Correct. You have done your PhD from Columbia.
Correct.
Having gone through that illustrious journey for yourself, how did you get introduced to this world of Satchidananda? And when did you realize that there is life beyond accomplishments? There is life beyond chasing that mirage.
Frustration. When I got a corporate job, I was immensely successful very fast. I was the boy wonder. And I got burnt out by corporate politics, so I went into academe thinking there would be no politics in academe. I was wrong. Politics is alive and well in academe. And then I stagnated. And my colleagues who remained in the corporate world moved on to positions of hierarchical authority and great financial success. and I was stuck where I was. I was okay. I was a well-known professor, but professors don't make a lot of money. So I thought, oh, I've blown it all. I had such a wonderful career. I have such great education. As you can see, I was in the premier institutions in India and the US, and got the highest degrees, and I've blown it all. I've ruined my life. So I was feeling very frustrated and down. All my life, I'd been doing a lot of reading, spiritual biography, mystical autobiography. They would take me to a wonderful place, but it didn't make sense. I thought that chasing was what life was all about. And I was chasing and not getting what I wanted. So I was intensely first frustrated and then not exactly depressed, but down. And as I said, I'd been reading spiritual biography, mystical autobiography all my life. So I said, why don't I take the teachings of these great masters, strip them of religious, cultural, and other connotations, and adapt them so that they're acceptable to intelligent people in a post-industrial society? And the thought of doing that made me come alive. So I created a course called Creativity and Personal Mastery. I moved it to Columbia Business School, and it exploded. It was the only course at Columbia, which is a university-wide draw. There were other people who had the same problem. And I discovered that, yes, what we have to offer in our wisdom tradition is immensely valuable. In fact, you can't put a monetary or other figure on it.
Yeah. You launched this program, Creativity and Personal Mastery. Just wondering, how do you envision the teachings and the principles of creativity and personal mastery continuing to evolve and remain relevant to executives and leaders in the ever-changing business landscape today?
Great time for you to be asking that question, because that is exactly what I'm grappling with right now. And as always, the universe may have provided a solution. I have to see whether or not it has. I'm 72 now, and I'm stepping back because I need more time for personal reflection and doing things that I want to do. But there are an immense number of people who have taken my course, who've been profoundly impacted, who feel that's completely changed their life, and they want to continue the journey. So many of them are extraordinarily talented. They're entrepreneurs, senior executives. So I'm getting together with some of them to figure out what is the way by which the teachings continue. So by the time I really step back, there'll be more competent, more talented people taking it forward. I really don't view this as my knowledge. As I've always said, this is the wisdom of the great masters. And false modesty aside, I'm a very good translator. I can take those concepts, shape them into exercises which are relevant to intelligent people in a post-industrial society. And I think I'm pretty good at that. But the wisdom, the transforming power is from those great masters. I'm just the FedEx guy. I deliver the package. The package doesn't come.
That is where it's very important to understand that how we are all conduits, and we could be a possible conduit for somebody's transformation, provided we don't get stuck with.
If you say, look at the impact I had, so many people have been affected by my work, you go on another ego trip, and it'll take you a long time to get the hell out of that.
Precisely. Since you just introduced this concept of ego right now, you just spoke about ego. Just wondering, right? There are so many people in the world who are so-called successful. They've got name, they've got fame, they're running multi-million-dollar organizations. How do you ensure that you are not smitten by the glitterati, the sparkling light of that world, and continue to walk on this path of spirituality?
I have a solution which has worked very well for me. Whether it'll work for others or not, I don't have a clue, but it certainly worked very well for me. And that is, I contemplate people, great spiritual figures like Ramana Maharshi, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, the Buddha, Jesus. And if you look at where they were relative to where you are, you see the gulf is so wide that ego just floats out. That is the pinnacle of human accomplishment or possibility. So that is there. What are you proud about? It's silly. The idea itself is silly. When you have a candle and you say, oh, I've got a candle, see how much light I'm giving, and then you see the sun, all of a sudden, you're not egoistic about the candle.
Yeah. There's so many dilemmas that we all go through. There's so many dilemmas that we go through. As you just introduced this, you just spoke about ego, that when I start to look at myself, that I am the candle and I'm just sharing some light that I have, or that has been given to me. And when I start to look at the sun, the ego vanishes. It just goes out of the window. And there are so many struggles that one and that individual goes through, right? And not everyone is blessed with the courage, everyone is not blessed with the grit, not everyone is blessed with the tenacity to walk on this path. Now, what is when an individual comes to you, how do you handle their dilemmas? What's your piece of advice to them, that what is it that they can start to do, they can stop to do, that might assist them?
I don't handle anybody's dilemmas. Frankly, Gaurav, I have a tough enough time handling my own dilemmas. What I do is I share with them teachings of the great masters, selected passages, things they said at a particular point, which I think would be relevant to their situation. And I invite them to think about it. All of the people who come to me, and particularly my coaching clients, have done a lot of homework. They watch my book. I'm expensive. So before they sign on with me, they have watched my videos, they've read my books, and they're pretty clear that they want to work with me.
What they're getting into.
Yes. So
Yeah.
when they're pretty clear and they want to work with me and I share something with them, in many cases, it makes instant sense. I never thought about it that way. Yes, that's true. And straight away, entire areas of their life get cleaned up. I can't even begin to solve their problems or even suggest solutions, because they are very bright. They have a lot more context and domain knowledge than I have. So there's nothing I can tell them.
Yeah.
What I can share with them is a framework for analysis. And they find that immensely, immensely, immensely useful.
Just wondering, when people are really successful, I'm wondering, successful as per the societal norms, they are successful entrepreneurs. What kind of dilemmas, what kind of challenges do they come up with when they come to you?
Typically, they come to me because they know that this is not what life is all about. There is something lacking. They don't have the pure joy, the kind that is in the description I read out to you a few minutes ago. They want that in their life. And getting a bigger house, getting a private plane does not do it. And they have been on that road long enough to know that that is not the answer.
Wow. So it doesn't really matter if you are working in a corporate and 9 to 5 job, or you're running an organization, the challenges remain the same, because your heart is aching for something that you don't have right now.
Exactly correct. And too many people believe the thing to do that is to get another job. The thing to do that is to change where I am. No, the thing to do is change what's between your ears. But the funny thing is, when you make changes between your ears, it's funny how quickly the external world changes itself to suit the new person you're becoming. It's as if you and the universe were in a dance. And when you're in a dance, let's say you're doing the salsa together, when you lead differently, the universe doesn't have a choice but to follow differently. That is a truth that I would like everyone to discover. I discovered it way too late in my own life.
I'm just wondering, where do these all these insecurities, all these fears come from in an individual's life? If I look at my own life, there are so many comparisons that I live with. There are so many fears that I deal with. There are so many insecurities that I deal with. What if tomorrow I don't have a job? Tomorrow, if I don't have the company that I run? If tomorrow I don't have the recognition that I enjoy in my life? What if? There are so many what ifs.
Yes, absolutely.
Where do we develop all this?
Conditioning. It came to you from your parents, from your siblings, from your teachers, coaches, society, media. All tell you, oh, you've got to have this. This is there. Oh, here's a billionaire. Look at the lifestyle he's reaching. He's got this great big mansion, and there's a helipad on the mansion to get him there so he doesn't have to get caught in traffic jams. And wouldn't it be wonderful if you had that? All of it is rooted in the notion that you are a particular body, mind, intellect complex, and you have to pamper this body. You have to look after its needs, because this is who you are. But in reality, this is not who you are. And all of the things you're chasing are not you. Na punyam, na papam, na saukyam, na dukkham. I mean, that is the truth. And anybody who's listening to me, you listening to me right now, the moment I say that, you know that that is true. Now it is your job to move it from intellectual understanding to lived experience.
Hmm.
And that is the rest of your life journey, my friend.
Isn't that so easy said than done?
But on the other hand, the very fact that you're contemplating it, the very fact that you recognize that what I'm saying is the truth, means that there is grace flowing on you.
Yeah.
And you cultivate it and you will get there. And don't look at how long you have to go before you get there. You know, there's a wonderful story. There was a sage, a learned, enlightened being, and he had two disciples, both of whom were excellent disciples, very conscientious, would do everything he said, deeply in the quest. But they had an incredible curiosity and they wanted to know, when will I get enlightened? And they kept pestering him. Oh, Holy One, we know you know. Please tell us when we will become enlightened. And he tried to steer their attention someplace, but they'd always come back and say that. So finally, one day he said, come to me on full moon night and I'll tell you. And he hoped they would forget. But of course, they did not forget. In full moon night, they came up bright and eager and prostrated and said, Master, you said you would tell us when we will become enlightened. So he said, okay. And he pointed to the first one and said, my son, you've been very diligent. You've done all the exercises I've given you. 3 more births and you will be enlightened. And it was as if he had hit him with the staff. Oh, so diligently have I worked and so hard have I done penance, and I really want to get enlightened. And you're telling me that I have 3 more births. Oh, how sad. Woe is me. And he walked away dejected. And he pointed to the second one and said, my son, you see the tree behind you? It is a mango tree full of fruits and leaves and flourishing. Said, as many leaves as there are on that tree, that many times will you have to be reborn, and then you will be enlightened. And the second person jumped up with joy. Is that true, Master? Do you guarantee that? Oh, how wonderful. You mean to say I've only got to be born these times and I'm going to get enlightened? Yay, life is fine. And he started jumping up and down with glee. And the master said, my son, you will be enlightened now. And he touched him on his forehead and he was enlightened right there. You don't know how long a journey you have. So I liken it to an analogy. Let's assume that enlightenment is a creature, a thing, and it's hiding in the bottom of a lake. And it's a huge lake and it's hiding at the bottom. All you got to do is drain the lake and you'll be enlightened. The problem is it's a massive lake and all you got is a thimble. Now, you know, if you take a thimbleful of water at a time and get rid of it, the lake will eventually be drained, assuming no replenishment. But it's a huge lake and you only have a thimble. So if you start thinking it's a huge lake and I only have a thimble, you're screwed. But if you learn to enjoy the process of taking a thimbleful of water at a time and getting rid of it, then it doesn't matter how big the lake is. That's the analogy that I use.
You know, you give a beautiful example of the way these two individuals are looking at life. One said that only 3 more lives, 3 more births are left. And the second one is there are as many leaves as there are on this mango tree. Just wondering, what is enlightenment? And why are we seeking for that?
That is the thing, as it says in the Ashtavakra Gita, Mukta Bhimani Mukto Hi. He who thinks he is free is free. The only thing that is keeping you bound is the notion that you think that you are bound.
Yeah.
So you are always free. The big mistake you make is you're thinking, I'm this body, mind, intellect complex. I'm Gaurav. I run a podcast. I coach entrepreneurs. And what happens tomorrow if entrepreneurs no longer come to me? What happens tomorrow if my income dries up? What happens if I can't get guests on my podcast? Oh my God, this will be terrible. That's because you're identifying with
this identity. You know, I've personally come across people who are addicted to their sufferings. Yeah. They know what they are doing is not serving them. They know that they are walking on a path that lacks awareness. They know they are marching towards a situation where they would be suffering only, and yet they are addicted to that. Why is that?
Not so much addicted to that as they're incapable of moving away from that difference. Nobody likes suffering. You all want to be free of suffering. As Shantideva said, and Shantideva was an Indian monk and a Buddhist philosopher who said, I do not desire suffering, but fool that I am, I desire the causes of suffering. So there are many things we know that gets there, but the temporary thing, I know alcohol is bad, particularly when I am completely lost in drunken stupor. But somehow at the moment it's so attractive, I have to have that. I do not seek suffering, but fool that I am, I desire the causes of suffering.
What a beautiful, profound
That
statement
is
this
very
is.
profound. It'll take you a long time to really come to grips with that. I do not want suffering, but fool that I am, I desire the causes of suffering. That is the situation that most of us are stuck in.
Yeah. And what are those causes of suffering that we get stuck with?
Principal
Because
cause of suffering is the ego, the thought that there is an I and there is everybody else. That is the original misconception. That is why I am. Somebody asked Ramana Maharshi, Bhagwan, how should I treat others? And Ramana Maharshi looked at him and said, there are no others. Realizing that, that is what realization is. That is what is meant by jnana. That is enlightenment. That is nirvana. That is the kingdom of heaven.
yeah, India is a land where we have got Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Vivekananda, and there are so many sages who have walked this land.
Absolutely.
And interestingly, people in the West, they've started to follow that. What is it that we could do that could help us to bring that ancient wisdom back home?
I think that as a society, we are extraordinarily terrible at educating our young and showing them that all of this is not empty philosophy, but a concrete blueprint for living life that will give you both great fulfillment and great success. And we've done a piss poor job of educating our young in that. And fortunately, I see many signs that more and more young people are realizing it, because they're realizing that capitalist values by themselves are not enough. But capitalist notions married to a deeper philosophical understanding that can transform societies, transform life. And I see that there is some awareness of that growing. So whatever I can do to help spread that, that is my pleasure and honor. But I'm always the FedEx guy.
Yeah, yeah. Since you just mentioned that you are a FedEx boy who take people on this beautiful journey, when people come to you with a mentality of scarcity, where they are stuck, where they're always competing, how do you help people? How do you assist people cultivate a mindset of generosity, gratitude, and abundance?
I have several exercises which I've outlined in my books. But Are You Ready to Succeed was my first book, and it has a whole series of exercises that automatically leads them to discover perhaps the way I was doing things is not right. And let me tell you a story. When I was teaching at business schools, and I've taught at many top business schools, the first day I walk into the class, the students don't have chips on their shoulders. They have 2x4s on their shoulders. They know that this is all bullshit. They know that, this is woo-woo out there, new age stuff, which simply doesn't work. But at the same time, here's this guy, and he's been written up in all the major publications, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, Fortune, Forbes, Business Week. And I know people who have taken his course and they jump up and down and say it's the best course they've ever taken. So let me check it out to be on the safe side. So that's how they are. And I never tell them anything. Look, one of the things you've got to understand about teaching in a top business school, Gaurav, is anytime you make a statement X, very bright people are immediately looking for under what sort of circumstances is not the correct answer. So I tell them, everything I share with you is false. Don't bother looking at it or probing it, because I'm telling you up front that everything I'm sharing with you is false. You prod deep enough, you push far enough, and it will crumble. What you don't understand is the models you believe in, which you have not subjected to the same scrutiny, are equally false. So don't look at what I'm saying and try to judge, is it good or bad, right or wrong, true or false? Instead, ask yourself, does this work in my life for me now better than what I'm currently using? And if the answer to that is yes, adopt it. If the answer to that is no, drop it and move on to the next one. And that's how they start. That seems very reasonable. They say, oh my God, this works. Yes, this is true. My life has improved as a result of this. And that's how they move from skeptic to believer, and quite a few become evangelists. That's the journey. I don't have to share anything that's mine. These are the world's great masters. They know what changes, what transformation is. So all I do is package it appropriately, and transformation happens.
And have you come across a situation where the person is saying, hey, what you're saying is not at all making sense?
There are such people, and I don't handle that conversation, because typically when that comes in, that's combative, and they're looking to prove a point, and they're looking to bolster themselves, and in part that is by tearing me down. I really don't have time to get into that. I say, okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. God bless you. I hope you find something better for you in your life. I'm not here to convince people against their will. They will take that attitude. God bless them. I hope you find something that works for you. Let's move on.
And
By
in
and
the
large, people seek me out, especially now, because I'm not affiliated with any institution of any kind now, and I'm expensive. So people who come to me have already done their homework, and they know that they want to work with me, which automatically means they're going to examine anything I say very carefully, and they're going to try it rather than rejecting it out of hand. And if it doesn't work, their attitude isn't, this doesn't work. Their attitude is, what am I doing wrong? Can you show me how I can adapt it so that it does work for me?
In the corporate world that we are working in, we are living in right now, the VUCA world that we are living in, I think the practices that you're talking about, where we are revisiting our self-awareness, where we are revisiting and aligning ourselves with the absolute nature that you introduced some time back, where we need to revisit the way we are making meaning, it's becoming more and more important. And yet, there are leaders, as you just mentioned, who are trying to prove a point. What do you think? What kind of mindset is required for them that might assist them to cross the bridge and be on the other side and start to look at the world from a different lens?
That happens automatically if you start on the journey. Let me explain. A wonderful guiding principle for life is Shankara's Nirvana Shatakam. Na mrityur na shanka na me jati bheda pitana eva mena eva mata na janmaha. I have no mother, I have no father. In fact, I was not born. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Not everybody is interested in that. Not everybody gets it. Quite a few people will dismiss it. What do you mean, I don't exist? Of course I exist. Can't you see? I'm here talking to you. I've accomplished X. I've got X crore rupees in my bank account. I have this huge mansion, this wonderful faith. Not everybody is interested in that. But everybody is interested in, how can I lead a life where there is less stress? How can I lead a life where I am more at ease? How can I lead a life where I'm more effective in my decision making? How can I lead a life where I'm more efficient at getting my work done? And if you're whatever kind of leader you are, you're in business, you say, hey, would you like to have something that's going to greatly reduce stress, not only in you, but your team members, which is going to make your team members function more cohesively as a team, as opposed to individuals vying with, everybody will say, yes, I want that. And this, in fact, does deliver. But as you start along this path, some people will realize, there's a lot more to this, just living a more comfortable life. And they're ready to explore deeper in their own time. For some time, for some people, it might be years. For some people, it might be a decade.
As I'm just talking to you and just reflecting on my life, what's the most unfortunate thing that could happen to me? What if I never experienced the taste of awareness in my life? What if I never taste what it means to live from eternal bliss? What if I never experience what it means to live from a space of abundance and generosity and gratitude? What if I never experience what it means to be in harmony with my own self? What if I never experience what it means to be at ease with myself and with others?
Absolutely. Gaurav, as you pass on this journey, eventually you'll come to a time when you're so fed up of your day-to-day concerns. You'll get to the point that Ramakrishna got to. Remember where Ramakrishna stood in the temple of Kali and he took Kali's own sword and said, Mother, you will reveal yourself to me this instant, or I'm going to cut off my head. And he had Kali's own sword with which he was going to do that. And at that instant, Kali moved out of the image and revealed herself to him. When your desire becomes that strong, at that instant, you will realize your oneness. Most of us are very far from that. We've just got a vague, hankering. Yeah, this sounds good. It would be nice. But first, I got to watch that Netflix movie that just came out. There will come a time when these things drop from you. And as you go on this journey, you'll find it's happening. Things that you desperately wanted at one stage no longer make a difference.
I'm just talking to you at the cerebral level. I'm understanding what you're saying. I can actually experience the pain going on in my body right now as I'm just listening to you. I can experience the heaviness in my chest. I can experience what it would be to be on the other side of awareness. And yet the dilemma I'm in right now is that as much as I would want to be on that path, when I see my family members, when I see my close loved ones, they are operating from a space of lack of awareness that causes pain for me because it causes pain for them. Now, wishing that they should be in a space of awareness, they should operate from that space of awareness and peace. That wish itself is an expectation from life.
Absolutely.
So in that moment, that's taking me away from my own path.
Yes.
So how to hold that polarity?
You
wish
want the people close to you to understand what you have, and you're deeply pained that they have no inkling what you're talking about. I run into that all the time.
Yeah.
Parents who want their children to understand, husbands and wives who want their partners to understand, people who want their parents to understand. And the sad truth is that each of us is on our own journey. We're grappling with our own prarabdha, and it has to play out. All you can do is be a conduit. And some people who are ready will immediately grasp on, and your relationship will improve to an extent you wouldn't have believed possible. And others will look at you and say, this guy is crazy.
And what if it start to impact your relationship with those people?
Look, there are some people who are strongly bound to you by karmic and other relationships, relatives, parents, spouses, children, etc. There's not a whole lot you can do. You live through that relationship. Others are more transient, business colleagues, friends, etc. And there will be a change in your relationship. Some people will leave your life, others will come in, the relationship will be deeper. Observe all of that happening. This is just Maya playing out anyway. And all the time when you look at others and they're not there, remember the prayer. I forget whether it was Abhedananda or Vivekananda who composed it. One of the Ramakrishna mission monks. Kripayadhya samuddhara parakarim. Oh God, have mercy on me. And there is this huge sagar of samsara. Help me cross it because I cannot do it on my own.
You use the word Prarabdha. Tell me more about that.
Prarabdha is a concept. It's a mental model. And like all mental models, poke it and it will disappear. And no less an authority than Shankara has said, there is no such thing, Pita naiva me naiva mata na janma. If you were not even born, then what is Prarabdha? It doesn't exist at that level.
Precisely.
But the model basically is that you are bound by destiny, which is not something prescribed by somebody, but the cumulative effect of all of your actions over many lifetimes. It's a model, and it's a very powerful model. So if you feel comfortable using it, if you don't feel comfortable using it, it's not necessary. So it's entirely up to you.
Yeah. So would it be okay to say that wherever I am right now, it's the accumulation of what I have gone through in my life in the past? And this is where I was supposed to be, and this is where I am.
Exactly correct, yes.
So all the privileges that I've been blessed with, all the situation that I'm in, that I'm a part of, which I'm enjoying, and all the difficulties that I'm going through, I have to go through that path to become the person that I am destined to become in this lifetime.
Absolutely. If you go by Ramana Maharshi and his direct path, they say all you do is, to whom are all these questions coming? Who is asking these questions? You keep holding on to that, and eventually you recognize it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The
Just
I
wondering.
that you're so horribly wedded to doesn't exist. It vanishes.
Mm.
Where was Gaurav when you were in sleep?
Yeah. The concept that we are talking about, when you speak about these concepts with leaders who are day in and day out talking about machine learning, talking about artificial intelligence, talking about profit and loss, P&L, balance sheet, they're only talking about numbers, numbers, and numbers. Do they understand? Are they able to interpret what you're talking about? And if they do, how do they land together? How do they bring it together?
Some do and some don't. And I
Mm.
am obviously very careful. I use my judgment in deciding who I'm going to talk to at what time. And increasingly, I'm coming to the point where I don't really work with people who don't understand what I'm talking about. But when these people understand what I'm talking about, they are very bright people and they instinctively know how to take what I've shared with them and incorporate it into their life so it's appropriate for them at that time. So I just am Johnny Appleseed. I scatter the seeds. Which
Yeah,
seeds are going to land in fertile soil and become trees and then forests, and which trees are going to land on rock and die? I don't have a clue.
beautiful.
It's not important for me to know. I'm just Johnny Appleseed. I scatter the seeds.
Thank you. I think that's a good place where we can wrap up this conversation. I'm sure people who are listening to, they will be pick up the right seeds and the
Yeah.
right nuggets from this
Okay.
conversation.
My pleasure, Gaurav. Always great talking to you.
Thank you.
Namaste.